It's been said that great leaders make more leaders. So if our job is to make more leaders, how do we duplicate ourselves the right way in ministry? That's what we're talking about today on the Ministry Coach Podcast.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Ministry Coach Podcast, where we give you weekly tips and tactics to help you fast-track the growth and health of your youth ministry. And you are not seeing this incorrectly. I have a disgusting Fu Manchu on my face, which is good news, because that means that I'm raising money. I hit my first goal. If you go back and listen to the episode from church ministry to campus ministry with Chase Steves, I'm raising money for FCA, so please go back and listen to that episode. And also, I'll put the link in here, but sponsor me because we're running out of time. This is like the last week before their big event, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I often look at him, I'm like, doesn't even look like you. Like, especially from the side, it's just like,
yeah,
makes
bad to
your
worse.
face look small.
Very tiny. I have a pea head.
Tiny riddle face.
I'm Jeff Lascola. This is
Kristen Lascola.
And today we're going to be talking about how do you duplicate yourself. I think that's something that a lot of people in leadership want to do. And I'm going to speak personally here for a second because I am an entrepreneur. I am self-employed. And I find that one of the hardest things to do is find somebody that has the same passions as you, the same... and I don't want to say talent because I know people are talented, but a lot of times you think, are you as invested in this as I am?
Yes, that's a great question.
How do you go about in youth ministry finding somebody that is on board and is like sold out the way that you are?
Well, I think like before, so we're talking about paid staff.
Right. Well, most of the time I think these would be paid staff people.
Right.
But,
like your right hand lady or right-hand man, like that person, your go-to, maybe it's a director or an intern or something like that. But, like hearing you talk, it made me think like, before you hire someone, and I think we've all made good hires and bad hires, but there's this phrase like heart, hunger, hustle, and so sometimes it's hard for me to hire a person who this job is a placeholder for them because the passion is just so much harder to mine out of someone who's like, I don't know, like I'm just doing this, like
it's a job.
Right. But like someone who's like, I want to be a youth pastor, or I want to be in ministry, or I want to learn church, like vocational ministry, then it's like, okay, then you've got the hunger. And without that hunger, it's really hard to pull the passion out. So, we could probably do a whole episode on heart, hunger, hustle, but those are those like keys that you're looking for before you hire this person. And then once they come on your staff, we start tonight where I start with everything, and it's relationship. So what is a motivator for anyone to do anything in any job?
Money. Lots of money.
That's why you're not in ministry.
Okay. That's one of probably many reasons.
So it's relationship though. Yeah. It's like, that's where we start with anything in ministry, really. Maybe in another job it would be with money, but I would say, why is someone excited to do something over the long haul? Maybe when the novelty has worn off, or maybe when the task is difficult, or it's scary, or it's a dry season or whatever. Like, how do you make it through that relationship? Like when you really love and value the people that you work for and that work for you, like I feel like you could make it through like anything. And so what does that mean really? And it's like seeing them as a person first and an employee second, seeing them as a friend, somebody to do life with, someone who is not a means to an end for you and for your goals. And I think it's very clear when a pastor, in the name of delegation, just gives people stuff that they don't want to do.
Yeah, the garbage, the crap that they don't want to do.
Right. And so we're going to talk today 5 things. Well, relationship was number 1. So 4 more things of how do you go about duplicating yourself once you have that relationship and you're spending time with that person, you're doing life with them? I mean, when your intern or director or whoever it is, when they come into the office, your first 15, 20, half hour should be catching up. How are you? Like when Caleb comes in, I mean, we don't even start talking about work till at least 30 minutes in, because I want to know, how's his job going? How's his girlfriend? What did he do this weekend? Like we talk, and then, oh, he wants to show me something on his phone, and we have a good laugh, and then maybe we're eating, and then we start working. Yeah. And then we've already built up this chemistry and rapport, and that is not necessarily strategic on my part, because relationships come naturally to me. If you're not a naturally relational person and you're ready to get down to business, get work done, you know, you see the minutes going and you're sweating, discipline yourself to put in that relational buffer, because that is a bank account that you're making these deposits in for the long haul.
Right. And one thing too, if you think, because I could see myself being that way, like clock's ticking, we got to get going. I don't have time to do this relational building, then add a 30-minute, you know, like, hey, instead of being here at 5, let's be here at 4:30.
Yeah, if
and maybe mentally you can just give yourself this 30 minutes is set aside.
Or
just for
here's
this.
Another strategy that I've walked with pastors through before, because they're like, oh my gosh, when my staff's here, I don't get anything done, you know? And I'm like, do all the important stuff, you know, like that is pressing on you, like the stuff only you can do. That you personally need to get it done before they come in. And then so that you have a little bit more relaxed attitude once they come in. I find that helps me, because I'm the same way. I have that internal stress. Like, I like to work. I'm like ready to go. Let's get this done.
But if there's that thing weighing in the back of your mind, you're like, listening.
Okay, your weekend was great. Okay. Oh, and what'd you eat? Oh, cool.
Exactly.
Like you're like sweating. And so I find like, okay, if my sermon is prepped and tech has everything they need from me and all my creative stuff is done, then I feel like I can be like, all right, let's go at a different pace. Let's make it personal. And then work is more fun, you know, because they, you know, they're coming in with a different sense of urgency than you are.
Totally.
You know, so once all that relationship stuff is, you feel like you're honing in on like, okay, this is a person, this isn't my employee. Number 2 is hold your leadership with an open hand. And so, kind of to go down that road a little bit, I think for me, it's a mindset shift that I'm not necessarily the leader. I mean, I am, but listen to the full thought. I'm not necessarily the leader. I am the steward of the leadership. So meaning I have control of the leadership and the delegation and where it goes. And it's my job to steward that, distribute that, give people, like, leadership should never be hoarded, right? So it's not like, well, I'm the boss, I'm in charge, I have to have all the answers, I have to do all the important stuff. But what we do is we harmonize that and distribute it based on gifts, based on time, based on like just needing to learn, right? So if you're trying to duplicate yourself, everything you know how to do, they should know how to do.
Right.
Like nothing should be off the table. And I see that a lot with pastors, that they're like, well, I'm the spiritual one, and then you guys make my machine run so that I can do what I'm good at. And I get that to a point to where it's like, hey, build on an island of strength and then delegate the stuff you're not good at. Here's the problem though. I think most of us live in a world where we have to do everything.
Right.
So
it's like that Bugs Bunny where he's the pitcher and the catcher and he's like all the positions on the baseball field. There's only one person though.
Right. That's like the perfect illustration.
Yeah.
Like if I got to the point ever where I could hire an assistant, don't think it'll ever happen. I actually asked one time and the answer was no. And that's what I have you for.
You'd fire me. But if you could hire the ideal candidate, it would be, and this is not narcissistic thing, but if you could hire the ideal candidate, it would probably be yourself. You would hope.
Yeah.
Because if you're not your best employee, that could be a problem too.
Right. And none of this is like, and like, this is the like fine line. Like, it can't be laziness. Like, well, I delegate everything. And then I show up at 6 p.m. and like, cool, everything's running. I'm like doing leadership, because we all know good leaders stewarding leadership appropriately, it ends up being more work for you, because it's like, it'd just be easier if I did it myself. Because
that's me.
Yeah. But then you lose the value of developing people, coaching, mentoring. It takes
And they'll
time.
never know how to do it, so you'll always have to do it.
Right. It's an investment in their future and the future of the ministry. Yes, it is more work, but you're making these deposits into those accounts. Because, you know, our job is to raise up leaders, whether they're for us or for the church, like Big C church, you know, but it's our job to deploy leaders, you know? So here's how we do that. So stewarding leadership. So again, mindset shift. I'm not necessarily just the leader, but I hold leadership in order to steward it. Well, here's what that looks like. Number 3, give them the keys. So there is this great book. I'm sure you all have heard of it. Growing Young. Here it is.
Most of you probably don't have pen marks all over it from your toddler.
Yes.
Or maybe you do.
The cover, maybe it's not even picking up. Who knows? Just a little bit. It's from the Fuller Youth Institute. So it's with Kara Pyle, Jake Mulder, and Brad Griffin. Great book. And there's this whole chapter where they focus on this whole idea of keychain leadership. And the idea of it is, as leaders, we have the keys. We hold the keys. And whether that's literal or figurative, like we literally have keys to the building. We have keys to unlock certain rooms and classrooms and the gate and different things like that. And then we hold some figurative keys. And those keys would be things like important meetings, important people and relationships, decision-making arenas, stuff like that. So we have the keys, we have the access. And so their whole point is, if your church is going to continue to grow, so put that in like a microcosm of, if your youth group, if your influence, if your ministry is going to continue to grow, you need to be a leader who trusts the kids with the keys. So meaning you literally give away keys to your up and comings. And to paint the picture a little more of exactly what that might look like is not giving people, it's like the whole idea of not giving people authority, responsibility without the authority to back it up. Right. So you don't just, ask them to do something without empowering them to be on the same level of leadership, So like you
mean, so that it's not just a name only, but they actually have the ability to do, like, the power to do those things?
Yeah. And it's this real,
like saying you're the manager, you're the boss, but you can't really do anything.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And it's this classic, like, you're in charge, but I'm going to constantly interject and intervene and steer, because it's this real delicate balance though, because you don't just, some leaders do. I feel like sometimes you just throw them in the deep end. You're like, swim, figure it out. But what we really want to do is give them some responsibility that is a little bit more advanced than where they're at. So something that's a little...
And that's how you grow, because you're stretching your abilities.
Exactly. And you, as the steward of the leadership, you're there for them before, during, and after, especially right at the beginning, until the little baby bird can kind of do it a little more on their own. And so it's this delicate balance of like not giving them over, like, your intern's first day, they're not going to give a sermon, but picking one skill a month that they can start honing in on. So why can't they have a set of keys? If you are the only one who can unlock your classroom or the church or whatever, you just told them, we don't trust you as staff. Okay. That's a little example. Handing maybe even a key volunteer or your intern or director a radio. like a walkie-talkie. Like one of my volunteers the other day, she was helping me with something and she got a radio and she was just like, oh my gosh, I got a radio. Like, and I didn't even think about it.
Breaker, what's your 20?
Because I think of it as this like annoying nuisance of like, oh, in my ear, like stop. But it was like, okay, I'm official. And she was doing COVID screenings for me. And she had her radio, she had her temperature
Did she give you the result of each one? 98.6.
She did an excellent job, but she took it and ran with it. It's like, I don't need to be sitting there scanning everyone. I could, and I could be official with my little clipboard and everyone come check in with me. But I gave it to her and she ran with it. She was like, she had the keys, right? Handing someone a microphone is another
scary idea.
Another way to get, but see, you hit on a nerve because it's trust. And you have to know that what's wrong.
I just remember in high school, I had the microphone at the pizza restaurant and I farted into it. Side note.
Well, Jeff, if you were one of my employees, I might be taking a little slower with you, until you matured. But you as the leader know what you calculate it and like, okay, let's give this.
And with all of these comes these aren't going to be day one things. You're going to know the person well enough.
Right. I'm just trying to.
They're not going to do that.
I think we're at the point where I can trust you not to fart into the microphone.
It is junior high ministry though. Talk about gaining a lot of points with the kids.
That's true, but you're keeping that mic.
Yeah, it could spread COVID that way.
Is that a method of?
Yeah, I heard it was.
Farts?
I don't know how realistic that is.
So it's like microphone, keys, maybe the combination to something, if they're like working the snack shack, like basically what we're trying to do is show them we trust you. So giving them responsibility. So the responsibility would be, hey, set up the small group rooms. The authority would be you have keys to do that. So making sure we're matching that level. And I would say even in giving more trust, I think sometimes in ministry, especially, we're so like slow and careful because what if they blow it or botch it or whatever? Right. And I think that is just the cost of doing business. Like people will blow it. There will be a message that's not very good. There will be a talk sheet that needs some help, but everything I learned about ministry happened on the job. And somebody was there with me in my painful first messages, like, I don't know if I've shared this before, but one of my coworkers, he was our high school pastor for a long time. Somehow he got a hold of my notes from when I first started speaking, and it was like nails on a chalkboard, and he would just sit in his office chair and he would just read it in the like most
cringe.
Yes. And I would like laugh so hard, but it was like laughing because it was funny and laughing because I was mortified and I didn't know what to do, but just had to take the embarrassment. It was just like, oh, so heavy. And, but somebody put me on stage and said, you're speaking on this. Now, obviously we're not, well, what if they promote heresy? Okay. You usually know what they're going to speak on before they get up there. And, I think sometimes when we're overcautious, we overthink things, and obviously protecting the word of God. I understand that. But when you do your due diligence of prepping alongside them, helping them with their notes, knowing what they're speaking on, you set them up for success. That's your job, to set them up for success. And if it was their first talk is a C, okay, next time, hopefully it's a C plus. It's okay. So that's the thing. Everything you know how to do, they should be able to do, holding it with an open hand. And here's what they say in Growing Young. It says, when we refer to keys, we mean the capabilities, power, and access of leaders that carry the potential to empower young people. And I just love that because I'm like, yeah, you just like totally nailed it. Of this is what we're giving away so that their capabilities come to light. And that involves a high level of trust. But then remember what we said in the beginning, going back to that hiring process of hungry, heart, hustle, like you're vetting this person of like, do I see someone I can trust. Like, it's not just like, all right, anyone come on in. It's like, you've already done that vetting process. You've put your name on it. You've approved the hire. And now it's time to really put your money where your mouth is and say, I trust you. Let's do ministry. And, you know, one of the things too that I started letting my interns and directors do is lead meetings. That's a really low cost but high benefit task that it's like they learn how to be in front. You're putting your like stamp on them, like this person is in charge. So like we have a leader meeting every Tuesday before our youth group starts, and I would often not even be in the room. I would say, hey, lead our staff meeting. I'll just be greeting parents if any new kids are here. And I mean, the first couple times I'd be in the room with them, but eventually they worked that muscle. They could command the room. They knew exactly what they were supposed to say and they could do it. You know, maybe they could lead a parent meeting. Maybe they could, you know, write your curriculum. And again, where are you at with the staff member? What's the current skill that you're working on with them, and making sure they don't stay stagnant. And I think that breeds passion. Like you were saying, like, how do you get someone to be excited as you are? Like, I want quality work as if I were doing it. Well, if they love you and they know you love them and they've been able to really stretch and be like highly invested in and highly respected in terms of like, I respect your authority, like by not infringing on it. Like, it's amazing how much passion that breeds for your ministry. So yeah. And then number 4, teach them everything you know. And we kind of talked about this, but I just want to make a quick distinction of like, I like to call it the salt and the sugar of ministry. And the sugar of ministry is like, I want to lead a game. I want to do the message. I want to be up in front. I want to do this. And our jobs can appear very fun, but you and I both know that there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that you have to do. And most of us aren't hiring assistants anytime soon. So I think a lot of pastors shy away from like, well, I don't have organizational skills. I'm not good at admin. Well, you just have to do it. So like, be good at it. Learn. It's a skill. You can learn it. It's not like, well, I'm just not good at brain surgery. It's like, well, you can do a deposit and you can take attendance and, you know, you can plan an event and make phone calls. Like, you can. Do you thrive and you're so excited? Like, yes, I'm just in my zone. No, of course not. So in the same way, make sure your staff can do the sugar and the fun stuff and the stuff they're good at. Build on those islands of strength after they try a bunch of stuff. Figure out, what are you good at? What do you like? Let's put most of our energy there. But guess what? You also need to know how to fill out an expense report. You also need to know how to do attendance. You also need to know, you know, all those things. Here's a matrix. Can they plan an event? What is our job? We're event planners in a lot of ways, right? We're pastors who are event planners. Imagine handing off your all-nighter to your intern and say, ask me a question anytime. I'm here with you. Let's do this together. But say, find the date, call the roller rink or whatever, like negotiate a price.
Roller rink. Hello, 1992.
We go. There's a good one. There's one close by. It's a lot of fun. It is. They turn off the lights and you dance. You know, it's a groovy time, man. It's good. 1 year I was pregnant and I couldn't go on our whitewater rafting trip, and I had my 19-year-old intern run the entire thing.
She's a rock star.
She was a rock star. Yes.
She was
an exception. For sure. But here's what I did. I padded her with veteran super volunteers. Yeah. Like all my like hardcore dads that they're in their like 40s, 50s that have been doing ministry, have been on the trip a million times. So I didn't just say like, bye, see you in Oregon, you know, but she nailed it. But that was like her and I sometimes look back on that and she's like, I can't believe I led that trip. I'm like, I know, but you you nailed it. And I set her up for success. I mean, we did all the prep work and all of that, but ultimately I handed her the keys to the car. She didn't drive, don't worry. Our insurance would not allow that. But I said, go. And she navigated the whole thing. She led, she set up, she called me. We talked at every stop. You know, I'm in San Diego. She's going up the coast or up the, well, inland, not the coast, but you know, all the way to the Oregon border, then takes these kids rafting for a week. I'm like, wow, like impressive. And then there's other opportunities too, like bring them in on important meetings, like things that you are going to. Sometimes I would just tell her like, come on, we're going to this meeting. And, you know, I just want you to sit and observe and watch and whatever. Bring them into the tangible and the intangible. I would often tell her about, hey, I got an email from a parent. Here's what they said. Here's what I said. Here's what we're going to do. I didn't let all that stuff be private because I wanted her to learn leadership vicariously through me, even though she wasn't the one. And then she got an email from a parent once and I said, all right, how are you going to respond? What are you going to do? You know, like helping her work that conflict muscle too, like not shielding our staff from conflict. Literally anything you do. That's what I'm trying to say. They need to be able to do. I always put it in the mindset of wherever they go next, whoever hires them, I want that person to say, where did you work before?
Right.
Because you are so ready to go and you know so much and you are so capable. And you know, I would like cringe if they got hired at the church down the street that has an opening, wonderful. And they're like, where did you work before? This person knows nothing. Like, did they even teach you? Like,
right.
You know, I'm like, no, I want you to come out shiny, you know?
Yeah.
And okay, number 5. And lastly, learn from them. And that was one of the things my intern, she got a different job. She stepped down. She's going to try some event planning, ironically, which she got a lot of experience
doing. Which she's well
doing.
equipped for because of that too.
And, you know, her and I sat down at kind of our last supper together and we had a great talk and she just going on and on. You taught me so much. You invested so much in me. No one has ever done that for me. And then I just had to stop her after she like gave me all the accolades. Just kidding. And I said, I want you to know how much you've taught me and make that a habit of you do not have to be the expert in everything.
Right.
People respect people who ask questions, who are vulnerable, who are humble enough to learn something from someone else. And the things that she would teach me regularly were like, you know, she was always up to date on all the new social media stuff. Even like slang and lingo. And she would like I remember people like started saying stuff and I'm like, okay, you just have to walk me through. Like, what does this mean? And like, she was my little like
constantly evolving.
Yeah. But she always knew it. Like my little pop culture, like insider, you know, she taught me so much and I have a long way to go, but like with video editing and picture editing, she was a beast at like setting things up and building things. So we'd like get on the lift to like hang stuff up. If you saw our room our episode on how to decorate your youth room, you saw those lanterns and like we made this huge lantern chandelier. I was like death gripping this lift and I was terrified. And she's just like up there. She's like, okay, hand me this. All right. She's like tying stuff. She goes, no, we need a big one. I'm like, I'll do anything. Like, just do it, you know? And we did it together and she was totally in control, telling me what to do. And like in a good way, there was a lot of times where she directed me, you know, like something that she was much better at. I would be like, yeah, like reporting for duty, tell me like what we're doing. And it was great. And we never had friction. It was just so wonderful. And I think that builds in respect, you know, of like, you're a humble enough leader. And then we come back full circle to that relational piece. Right. So, yeah, I mean, there's a million ways to do it, but this is the way. These 5 ways really have been like, I would say not the exact recipe, but all of the bits that we've talked about today have gone into me developing my staff. And to be honest, they're what I think about number one, as like my relationship with them to me and anything I do in a given week is the most important. Am I getting them from point A to point B? And if they're volunteers and I'm not teaching them how to do ministry, like, okay, then could I give them stuff too, to keep them excited and to keep them invested? And it's just more fun. Doing leadership alone is not fun.
Doing most anything, because there's no one to celebrate victories with. There's no one to commiserate with when things go bad. You know, there's not that person next to you, but having that right-hand person or people is really important for your own sanity.
I know. And they love it. Yeah. Like, I had the best, I may have shared this before, but the best compliment I ever got was one of my volunteers. She's a long time one. She's amazing. And she goes, we were going through a hard time. Our students were just wild animals for a while. And she was like, Kristen, I said, guys, thanks so much for sticking in there with me. And she's like, Kristen, we would do anything for you. And like, I never forgot that. And I'm like, all the times we spend just hanging out, eating snacks, dancing, not working, but all the in between, that's what builds like the loyalty of a team. Yeah. It's not just work. We're doing life, and we have to remember that.
Now go take the trash out. It's overflowing in the bathroom.
I thought you were talking to me. I was like, that's your job. I've done enough today. I made muffins. I did laundry. I mean, I'm checking out.
Yeah. So, I mean, all that goes to say, though, duplicating yourself is not in, again, that vain, prideful, I need more of me, but just that passion, that knowledge of the ministry and the excitement and all that stuff is just breeding that and making sure that goes through your staff, or especially your right hand, he or she.
Yes.
Just so that, and also like your ministry shouldn't shut down if you were like, oh, I'm sick, I can't make it.
Yeah.
Oh, we're not having youth group tonight. Sorry.
Well, what's funny is when I went on maternity leave, Caitlin ran everything, and
they said, you don't need to come back.
Yeah. Well, when I came back, she was like happy, but she was like so in the zone that she was kind of like, oh man, like she had to give everything back. I was like, no. Like, let's, we can do this well. But yeah, I mean, you should be able to get sick, go on vacation, go on maternity, paternity,
the ministry
whatever.
Won't end, shouldn't end.
If you've been doing your job.
Right.
And so sometimes we like to complain about our leaders. Be very careful, because it's a direct reflection of you.
Ooh.
We don't dab anymore. Caitlin taught me that. Don't dab, but I can't not dab.
I know. I feel like I'm dabbing more now than I did when dabbing was a thing.
And I want to say lit. Is that too much to ask?
You
can't say lit anymore. You're gonna say, okay, boomer.
I thought retro was in the whole roller skating. You can't say lit.
Guys,
everything goes.
I can't. Caitlin, can you comment below what she said? She texted me the other day about some food, and she called it something, and I'm like, is that good? Oh wait, no, I can't even think of the word. I'm like, haha. I like Googled it because I'm like, well, is this a good word? But it was so new, it didn't even come up yet.
But this is totally getting off track, and then we're going to stop because we've reached the end. But I've always thought everybody hears a slang word for the first time, one time.
Yeah, that's true.
And don't know what it means. But it's always
But did you hear it first? Because then that means you're hanging out with cooler people.
Doesn't matter. You're still like, what does that mean? And so do you like lay back and like, okay, I'm gonna have to listen to them use it again in a sentence, and is that a verb or a noun or an adjective? I'm not sure.
I know.
But I just think it's when people mock other people. You don't know what that means. It's like, you didn't either the first time you heard it. And this is the first time I'm hearing it.
Yeah.
You're sus.
Suspicious.
Yeah.
Whoa. Super sus.
I just learned that one. So.
People are saying clutch sometimes.
Don't know that one.
Clutch. I don't know. I don't claim to be cool. I'm a lot of things.
I'm far from cool. Well, thank you guys for watching and listening. And if you can, please donate for FCA and you can see the challenges I'm going to. The first one was shave a mustache because I've had facial hair, usually in the form of a beard, for a long, long time. The next one, which I'm like really close to, you're gonna hate this. The mustache goes and it's all gone. And
Guys,
then I'm like super
seen
pea head.
him without facial hair?
No one has in
There's
like 15
reason.
Years.
Donate to me. I'm the one suffering here. And don't give too much because the last one is some kind of tattoo or something. And it's just, I'm not.
It's going to a good cause.
We'll give you a refund if you did.
All right, guys. We will see you next